All right, welcome YouTube fans. We're here Offsides Week 11. Easy on the eyes, Rolf is lost a phone. So he'll be back hopefully next week when he finds his phone. We still have Randy and myself need to shave Mike. And so here we go. We're going to talk about some of the games, some of the action in Week 11 in the NFL. First game, Denver, KC. This one was pretty much game of the week. We're looking at two teams, top division AFC West, top of their game in the AFC, and we kind of were thinking KC was a pretender. We're kind of thinking Denver, how are they going to look? Are they going to be playing them pretty strong? Are they going to play them like they played the Colts? And is Manning going to even survive the game? Because the KC defense is a stingy defense. What did we learn from the Denver-KC game when you watched that, Randy?
We learned that Denver was playing at home.
Okay.
So Peyton Manning could make all of his calls, he could make all of his reads, and there was no... What we learned is that Kansas City's defense is stout.
Okay.
Their offense is inept.
Okay.
But these are all things that we knew about the Kansas City Chiefs. I still think they're a contender to make the playoffs, and I've thought that they were a sleeper pick of mine.
Okay.
I just believe that this 2-14 team from last year was way better than that record.
Yeah.
You know, they were just way better. And Andy Reid and a great game manager in Alex Smith.
Sure.
But what we saw last night, Alex Smith, when you have to come from behind with Alex Smith,
it's not going to happen.
9 times out of 10, he just... You needed a long bomb, and he was throwing screen passes underneath, inbounds, with no timeouts left.
Right. Yeah, and that'll hurt KC fans. That'll hurt you a lot, considering, I mean, threw 45 times, completed 21 of those passes, 230 yards, 2 touches, but again, they played behind the whole time. I mean, the Broncos had the lead from the first quarter with the field goal. After that, that was all she wrote. And KC never really came and challenged Denver saying, oh, you're going to have to put up more points. They just pretty much, like you said, can't manage the game, and it slowly kind of just ended up to where, hey, the Broncos win. So, where does it go from now? KC doesn't have the hardest of schedules.
No.
Denver, if you look with them, the next couple of games are hard. However, after that, it does ease up a little bit on them. Does Denver outlast KC in the division, or no?
I will say this. I will think that Denver does outlast KC. I will say that KC probably loses because people are going to pick them apart. All you had to do... We've learned this. If you can score 24 points on the Chiefs, you're going to beat them.
You're going to beat them.
Because they just don't put up points unless their defense is doing it.
Right.
The scary part is that reminds me a lot of the Baltimore Ravens from years ago. Not this most recent one that had Flacco, but the one with Dilfer.
Yeah.
That's the team that it reminds me of a lot. Great defense, a quarterback that just managed it. If you notice, Alex Smith didn't throw an INT.
He did not.
He did not throw an INT.
Very careful with the ball.
You know, and Jamal Charles, very good running back.
Great
defense, unbelievably good.
Right.
But give a lot of credit to that offensive line of the Denver Broncos. They did not let anybody touch Peyton Manning.
And in order for them to be successful, they cannot. I mean, are we in agreement there? They literally have to either do holds or something, but they cannot let him get touched in the game, or else Denver, you're done. It's over. All right, next game. This one was interesting. Baltimore, Chicago. Obviously, the delay from the weather. About a 2-hour delay. After that, we get back to the game, and who's leading the team for Chicago? McCown, not even Jay Cutler, and they still pull it out. McCown did pretty good. I mean, 216 yards, 1 touch, enough to win the game in overtime. I mean, does Chicago have a chance to stay in this realm of winning and then maybe, get to the playoffs, or is Baltimore just not that good?
I think Baltimore has the Super Bowl hangover, and what you always learn every single year, and it seems to be more and more true, you're always going to get, when you're the Super Bowl champ, the defending champ, you're going to get everybody's best shot.
Right.
And right now it looks like Baltimore, with all the people that they lost, they cannot take everybody's best shot. 4-6, that's disappointing.
Right.
They're still in the playoff hunt.
They're still in the playoff hunt, 4-6.
If that team gets in the playoffs, they're a one and done. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to have a magical run again because they do not have anybody to inspire them
Right. There's no leaders
And-
on the team as there was with Ray
No,
Lewis and stuff
absolutely
like
not.
that. Okay.
And you know what? I'll tell you right now, if I'm a Chicago Bears fan, I want Josh McCown in, and I want Cutler traded. Get something for him.
Really? You're saying Cutler out of town?
I would kick Cutler out of town. The people, the team seems to respond to McCown.
Yeah.
They seem to play harder for McCown.
Yeah.
I say Cutler, it's time to move on.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, you don't know. He's pretty banged up. He's been in and out, and not really playing. He tried the last game they lost. So I mean,
Yep.
this is kind of interesting. You bring that up. And then the last game we'll talk about San Francisco and the Saints. Obviously, huge matchup. This game was pretty tight, separated by a field goal, and there was a couple of instances where one call in particular where Drew Brees got lit up. It was a fumble. It would have changed the dynamic of the game. Was that a penalty? You saw the hit. I saw the hit. Was that a penalty? And should they just let them play football, or was it a clothesline as he tried to rip his head off?
You know, this is a borderline call. If I'm the referee, I'll be honest with you. If I'm the referee, I make the call.
You make the call.
Because that arm went up around the neck. And it may be a rule that is forgotten, but you are not allowed to clothesline another player.
True.
It is an old rule,
Yeah.
but it is a rule nonetheless. And if you watch that video in slow motion, you watch that video.
Yeah.
He gets hit so hard that his head stays forward while his body is launching backwards. Drew Brees almost looks like his head could have snapped off of his
It
body.
looked like it was leaving it, wasn't it?
And
Yeah.
you look at the look on Drew Brees' face as he's just like, oh my God, my neck is not, my head isn't moving with my body anymore.
It is a pretty wicked hit.
It's still illegal. It was a good call. If I'm the ref and I know the rules, a clothesline is illegal.
Gotcha.
Good call. San Francisco fans, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was a good call. It should have been, a flag should have been thrown. And you know they're going to protect the quarterback every single time. And a violent hit like that looked bad.
Looked bad. It was
Looked
so
bad, and it was bad.
It was
and
bad. There you go.
Good call.
There
Good
you
call,
go.
refs. I'll give you on that one. Good call.
Now, let's say these teams meet in the playoffs. Are we going to see the same result? Saints outlast the Niners?
Because it'll be in New Orleans, yes.
Okay.
You will see New Orleans beat San Francisco. If that matchup is there
Happens
again,
Uh-huh.
if it's in New Orleans.
Because it
will
wasn't
win
like
that
they
game.
destroyed it 23-20. I mean, it's a close game.
But it's
Back and forth.
it's still one of those things. I believe if Drew Brees gets home field advantage
Right.
throughout the playoffs, that team will go to the Super Bowl. But I do not think they will leapfrog Seattle. And if New Orleans has to go to Seattle, at that time of the year, cold, rainy, sleet, freezing rain type weather,
Yeah.
that is not good for a Drew Brees.
There you go. There you go. All right, we're going to switch gears real quick. We're going to talk about some of the rookies in the first round that were drafted this year. Now, the year prior, obviously, we kind of knew some of the names. We knew some of the standouts right away. You had Andrew Luck, who's going to be the quarterback of the future for the Colts. You had RG3 in there, second pick of the draft. You had Trent Richardson, third pick of the draft. You had Russell Wilson in there. You had all these dynamic players that you knew were going to play a part, and a huge part, in their team's success. This year, however, is a different kind of draft mix, and you kind of lose track of some of the names. But Randy has gone through, scrubbed the list, and we're going to talk about some of the draft picks, like your standouts. Who do you have for standout draft picks? Although, again, they're not going to be RG4 or Andrew Luck or Terry Bradshaw or Dan Marino or Marcus Allen. They're not going to be any of these kind of names.
I'll tell you, just because Rolf's not here, we'll give him a little shout. You're not even going to find a Don Mikowski in this. You're not going to be able to find a Don Mikowski in this. But I'll tell you right now, it's like what I'm looking at here is that most of the standout players are offensive linemen, but most people that are casual fans, they don't know offensive linemen. So I'm going to go with players that we have a chance to know, defensive ends, wide receivers, running backs, whatnot. Now, keep in mind, I'm only going to do the first round. There were no running backs or quarterbacks picked in the first 15 picks. First time in NFL history that's ever happened where a quarterback or a running back was taken in that early.
That's crazy.
So I'm going to start basically. I'm going to give you some disappointments real quick. Deion Jordan for the Miami Dolphins. He only has 12 tackles, 1 sack. Number 3 pick in the draft.
He should be doing something.
He should have at least 5 sacks.
Jordan should be doing something out there.
He should be doing something.
Miami, if you want to get back in the game, let's go.
Yeah, and I'll go another one that everybody was on his bandwagon. Tavon Austin. 33 catches for 343 yards, 4 touchdowns. I'm not impressed. That's an 8th pick in the draft. A lot of money is given to that guy, and he was supposed to, revolutionize that offense.
Right, be like the next Randy Moss when he got picked up, right?
Absolutely. He's supposed to be a big-time player, and all he's been is mediocre at best.
300 yards? That's nothing.
Yeah, 300 yards. I mean, there's tons of wide receivers that have that, and they're wide receivers you wouldn't really care to have on your team.
Yeah, like Jericho Cotchery.
Yeah, there you go. Jericho Cotchery. There you could have that.
Steelers.
Yeah, he's probably got that many yards.
I believe so.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my number 3 standout, Barkevious Mingo. Now, you know who this is. Congratulations, because I had to look him up.
Okay.
He was a defensive end, converted him to linebacker, plays for the Cleveland Browns. He has 26 tackles and 4 sacks.
Wow.
Not bad for a young player. He was the 6th pick in the draft, so I think he's doing about what a young linebacker should do.
That's pretty impressive, and considering that defense has gotten better. That's kind of what's kept them in games. Now, you wouldn't say this last game, because since they put 21 points on them inside of 1 quarter. But prior to that, I mean, that's why they're in the hunt still for the last playoff spot, is because that defense, and I think you're right. I mean, having that rookie perform that well, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I am impressed with Barkevious Mingo. My number 2 guy, this is a guy that probably very few of us have even heard of, Kenny Vaccaro. Strong safety for the New Orleans Saints.
Ooh.
This guy's got 45 tackles, a sack, and an INT. 15th pick in the draft.
Jeez. 45 and 1-1.
Yeah, Rob Ryan is using that guy very well.
Well, that guy knows how to coach a defense. I mean, we've always agreed with that. He knows how to coach a defense, and obviously he's seen a gem in this player right here, and to have 45 tackles to be in on that, that means that guy his head's on a swivel. And he is just like watching the play, how it's designed, and comes up and executes. That's absolutely amazing. That's a great pick.
Here's put this in perspective. 45 tackles, 1 sack, 1 INT for Kenny Vaccaro. Mm-hmm. Look at the 9th pick, D. Milliner, the 12th pick, DJ Hayden. These are cornerbacks that were taken by the Jets in Oakland, respectable.
Right.
Combined 49 tackles, 1 INT between the 2 of them.
2 players.
2 players
it's
combined
shut down corners. Yeah.
And they combine it for what Vaccaro is doing by himself, and these guys were taken both ahead of him.
Is that including interceptions?
That's including interceptions.
That is
He's got as many interceptions as those 2 shut down corners. These were supposed to be your corners of the future for those teams.
Yep.
And you got a safety that was the 15th pick overall for New Orleans. Doing pretty good.
Wow, that is impressive. Great job on the draft board with Saints right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now my number 1, and like I said, you guys know this, you're ahead of me.
Yep.
Sheldon Richardson. Defensive tackle for the New York Jets. 50 tackles.
Jeez.
So he's a run stopper, not to mention a defensive tackle. He has 2.5 sacks.
Wow.
And these are guys that are usually
tackle.
these are guys that are just space eaters.
Yeah, the run stoppers.
Yeah, he's still getting in there and sacking people.
Wow, that's for the Jets?
That's for the Jets. I think that's why that Jets defense plays well sometimes.
Right. Well, and on top of that, you got the Ryan brothers, right?
Yep.
They both,
absolutely.
Rex was a defensive coordinator, absolutely amazing defensive coordinator, became a head coach, iffy on that, but he doesn't lose a defensive mindset, and he understands what players need to come over, and the dynamic of that, and that is impressive. Defensive tackle, 50 tackles.
Yeah.
That guy's going to the Pro Bowl. I mean, how could you not? That is impressive numbers.
But you look at that. I mean, that's a good point. The Ryans, they know how to pick their players.
Yeah, that is impressive. And how to use them. And how to put them in ways they're going to be successful. And to hear about the strong safety and to hear about this defensive tackle. And we didn't make this stuff up, and we weren't looking at say, hey, great job to the Ryan brothers, but great job to the Ryan brothers, because that is impressive.
Well, here, look at a guy that was the 14th pick, Star Lu Tualealea.
Uh-huh.
He plays for the Carolina Panthers. A very good defense. Only 17 tackles, 1 sack.
Wow.
And he went ahead, of Kenny Vaccaro and just behind Richardson. So you would hope for a little bit. Even look at Denver's Sylvester Williams. Right. He hasn't put up big numbers, but, to be fair, when you got Knighton and Vickerson in the middle, you're not going to get a lot of playing time. But right now, well, I'll tell you, Sheldon Richardson, that is a heck of a pick, and I would really like to have that guy on my team.
That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, our last topic here, and this one is a big one. This is the last AFC wildcard spot. Now, what we have right now is an interesting dynamic. First of all, 2 teams that are 9-1 in the same division hasn't happened in years plural. Like, we haven't seen it in over 20, 30 years. Second of all, 4 and 6 teams, these are the teams in the hunt for the last playoff spot, and there's a lot of them. So if you're in an office pool, you're not winning any money this year because you couldn't figure out who was going to win where, because no one else can, and neither can division. And we don't know, and we have an idea of who is going to be in the last wild card spot. Randy, who are you taking for that last wild card spot in the AFC?
Let's give a little bit of perspective here. The two teams are 5-5. That would be the Jets and the Dolphins, and they are right now. They're battling it out for that last playoff spot. How exciting is that to get one of those two teams in the playoffs?
That is amazing.
And then you have, here's the glutton, 6 teams at 4 and 6. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Tennessee, Oakland, and San Diego.
Wow.
That is right now you have 8 teams within one game of the final playoff spot.
That is amazing.
That's sick.
That is amazing.
But out of
who's going to outlast all this garbage? Like, who's going to rise out of the trash?
When he asked me this question, I got mad because I didn't know what the answer was going to be. So I'm pulling one out of here. San Diego Chargers.
The Chargers?
The Chargers.
3 teams from the AFC West are going to the playoffs.
3 teams. Who would have thought that? 3 teams for the AFC.
I don't know about
that. Wouldn't have even been a bold prediction.
That would have been a very bold prediction.
But I do believe the San Diego Chargers will get there. They won't win a lot of games in their division because they're not going to beat Denver and they're not going to beat Kansas City. But I think that they can beat the other teams around them. And I think that all the teams in that AFC North are just going to beat each other up.
But you got to remember, though.
8 and 8 is going to get in that
the
final
Chargers, 2 of the games are, one, Denver. Another one is Kansas City.
Yeah.
So that's 2 losses. And they're still getting there?
That's fine. They can win the other 4.
Oh, no.
Okay. They'll win the other 4, and it's 8 and 8. And 8 and 8 is going to get you in the playoffs in the AFC. It'll get you the first round loss, but it will get you in the playoffs. And you will get to face, I don't know, you're going to face a division winner, but, at least you don't have to face Kansas City because they're going to have to face the other division winner.
They are going to have to. And I am actually going out again on a limb. I'm liking the Steelers. I think the Steelers...
I had a feeling.
The Steelers, I think, are going to make this, and this is why. You look at this game, they just beat Detroit, and it was a battle. They came back. Ben was able to figure it out. The running game, it is suspect, but when it's on, it's on. But the Brown, Roethlisberger, they're starting to really connect a lot now. Absolutely impressive. Absolutely impressive. They beat Detroit Lions. When you beat teams like that you pretty much know are still in the hunt as far as when it comes to playoffs at NFC, I think you have a shot against a Miami Dolphins, a Jacksonville, a New York Jets that's suspect, with Geno Smith getting murdered by the Bills. I mean, I look at all these other teams, I'm like, they just don't do it for me. I think the Steelers, they can handle what they have. The rest of the teams in division, I think they can beat Cincinnati. The rest of the teams in their division, though, I just don't see them performing at the level that they're going to perform at. And they're going to win. They're winning. They're winning.
I think you just like their prison uniforms or something. I don't know why.
It was the khaki pants that did it for me. The khakis were rocking it out there.
You're really going all in with the Steelers, and I'll give you that. I'm starting to wonder what your allegiance is. Are you a Bronco fan still, or has your allegiance switched over to the pit? Do you feel sorry for Tomlin and Roethlisberger and their relationship that is strained by Todd Haley in the middle?
How can you feel sorry for a Roethlisberger who's threw for 367 yards, 4 touches in this last game? That is absolutely a competitor right there.
Well, that's one game. That's one game that he's looked like the old Ben Roethlisberger. Let's see if he can do that for another 6.
I agree. But, again, the chemistry... he's throwing at Heath Miller all the time, and which he had 6 catches or 8 catches his last game. But him and Brown are really starting to get it. 7 catches, 147 yards, and 2 touches for Brown. Absolutely impressive. Absolutely impressive. And again, Detroit, not a bad defensive team. Pretty good. And gave it to him.
I think that there shouldn't be a 6th seed in the AFC this year. I just think that there is so much garbage in the AFC. I just really think that the 6th seed should be eliminated.
Who beats out Pittsburgh? I mean, I know you picked your team.
San Diego. You know who else beats out Pittsburgh? Cleveland. Okay, I said it. Cleveland Browns.
The Browns beat out Pittsburgh.
The Browns will beat them. That's how much I believe.
They don't even know who's starting at quarterback. Jason Campbell, 57 times, 3 interceptions.
Hey, that's okay. Because Campbell, he's going to hit his stride. He's going to have He's gonna come up with 6 of the most magical games. He's gonna remind you of Randall Cunningham. I'm telling you right now.
Randall Cunningham, Jason.
You could just call him Jason
It's the
Cunningham.
first time
Cobb.
they've been mentioned in a sentence ever. We're out of here. Week 11, Offsides. We'll see you next week here on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. We're out.